So, where were we? Oh, yes, the apocalypse. Forgot. I'd have to say, overall, this rescue mission has some room for future improvement. More survivors rescued, fewer crew members lost, and, oh, yes, not losing the entire planet. I would say that's definitely a point that should be emphasized in the operational post-mortem. Spock's not too pleased either. Even having Uhura making out with him in the turbo lift doesn't cheer him up. I should mention a couple positives lest you think I'm looking for things to just rip on in this movie. First, I think destroying Vulcan was an extremely brave and effective element. It's infuriating as a fan, and it's supposed to be. It establishes that this Nero guy may be a brooding emo, but he's a brooding emo that's an incredible threat. He didn't take out some random planet. He took out a world we've seen on numerous occasions and retroactively killed most of the Vulcans from all of the previous Trek. He must pay for this. And we know that there is no reset button. There's no way that we're going to save Vulcan later on somehow. This is all she wrote. These threats matter, and consequently, it gives the film weight. The other is that Zoe Saldana's Uhura really manages to do a lot with her part. Let's be honest, it's hard to have a lot of drama around the person who operates the radio. There's only so much to be done with it, and it's fairly predictable. So her primary role remains as part of this love triangle with Spock and Kirk, which I think she handles very effectively. She conveys strength without ever seeming cold, and when she is emotional, she still manages to keep that strength present. Nero's got Pike in the ship of unsafety. Just drew those cables all through the water there, guys. He talks about the Federation's inaction in saving Romulus, but Pike figures he's just crazy.
You're confused. You've been misinformed. Romulus hasn't been destroyed. It's out there right now. You're blaming the Federation for something that hasn't happened.
It has happened! I watched it happen! I saw it happen! Don't tell me it didn't happen!
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry. You just destroyed a planet. I don't like you now. And I was angry when I did it, so... Like I said, you wouldn't like me! When Pike won't give the info Nero needs to attack Earth, he sticks a slug, as is evidence given its pincers and exoskeleton, it's obviously a slug, into his mouth so that he'll have to tell the truth. Meanwhile, Kirk and Spock are marking out their territories on the Enterprise bridge. Pike made Spock captain and Kirk first officer before leaving, so that's why he's there. Spock concludes that the most likely explanation is that the Romulans have come from the future and that they are now in this parallel reality where everything is now different, caused by... Anyway, Spock wants to rendezvous with the rest of the fleet. Kirk wants to take the fight to Nero, so finally Spock just throws Kirk off the bridge. Well, by God, Kirk's fighting somebody today, so he texts the security guard so that... I guess he's going to hope that the whole ship will join him in a mutiny or something. But sadly, it just ends with the Vulcan nerve pinch and him getting shoved into a escape pod. I guess Spock's still a little ornery over that destruction of his home world and death of his mother thing. Kirk awakens on the icy moon of Delta Vega, and rather than following directions and waiting for rescue as told, figures he'll just get out and wander about at random despite the hazard warnings. So he winds up having a run-in with not one, but two vicious predators. Okay, need a scary monster sound. Why? Why? Any other stupid questions? Now, I'm thinking dino crab. So, like a dinosaur with crab legs. Oh, I was thinking of a dinosaur that gave you crabs, but I like your idea even better. Go with that. And that's why you never want to cast summon bigger fish. Naturally, it chases Kirk, leaving its fresh kill behind because it's territorial, as all dino crabs are. Oh, and part graboid. Ooh, looks like this is the end. Aragorn, you saved him! Oh wait, even better, it's Spock! The real Spock! The 157-year-old one! Played by Leonard Nimoy, who doesn't look a day over 140.
How did you find me?
That's a hell of a good question. But I passed it off in Rocks and Shoals, so in all fairness, I need to do the same thing here. But damn, right into the same cave. The fastest way to info dump under the circumstances is a mind meld, so he shows Kirk what happened, in all its ludicrous glory. A star went supernova and threatened to destroy the galaxy. And the only way this could work is if the star was going to go supernova and it was the star of Romulus. And Spock was speaking metaphorically and greatly exaggerating the threat of destroying Romulus. But anyway, the fastest possible option is to finish building the jellyfish rather than taking a ship that's actually already been built and fueled and all of that and flying to Romulus. The plan is simple. If you stick a black hole inside of a supernova, it'll stop the explosion. Except that at the center of a supernova, often a black hole can already be found. And it doesn't do much to help. But damn it, we need a plan. Any plan. Even a plan that wouldn't actually accomplish anything. We need a plan. So they'll need one drop of red matter to create this black hole. So naturally the Vulcan Science Academy gives Spock about 50 gallons of the stuff. Just in case he feels like imploding the universe or something on his way back. So Spock shows up, too late for Romulus, and since a supernova is pretty much no threat outside its solar system, he can pretty much call it a day. But Spock figures, what the hell, I came all this way, might as well toss this pneumatic tube into it to justify our budget. But then Nero shows up, and they both get sucked into the black hole and tossed back in time. And amusingly, this is where what Nero was up to comes in. In the deleted scenes, we discover that Nero and his men were captured by Klingons, and the attack that Uhura picked up was actually their escape. Otherwise, why would they screw with the Klingons, except maybe out of boredom? But they expunged all that stuff, and rather than keeping Spock's brief line in to explain what happened and actually make it clear Nero wasn't just sitting around in his room listening to Tori Amos and writing in his dream journal for 25 years, they replaced that line too. It even stands out because of how different it sounds from the rest of the Mind Meld dialogue. The guys who wrote this also devised the story for the Countdown comics, so it still confuses me why Nero was so weak here by comparison. Yeah, he wants vengeance on Spock, but it's disconnected. It's... Okay, let's say that World War III happened and my family gets nuked. I'm going to be pretty pissed off. Let's say I'm pissed at President Obama. I blame him because he said he was going to avoid this and it actually happened. Okay, you can understand that. And you can maybe understand why I might desire revenge there, but it's disconnected. Unlike with Khan, or even friggin' Shinzon for that matter, there's no personal connection between myself and Obama, only the actions that took place from afar. But say I was a political ally of Obama, had met and spoken with him personally, one-on-one. If he assured me that he was going to prevent this, and that it happened, it makes the sense of betrayal much more palpable, and the desire to see him pay for what happened, something that can be related to, even if it wasn't his fault. You can understand why I might personally feel betrayed given what he said to me, given the trust that I put in him. That Nero, the one from Countdown, is a man who is seeking retribution from a man who betrayed him in his mind. That's powerful. That's personal. Nero in the film is lashing out at some public figure he's never met because he needs to blame someone, and that's not powerful. That's pathetic. And he can't handle a pathetic villain the same way you can a powerful one. Nero's not Uma Thurman in Kill Bill. He's John Hinckley Jr. I should add at this point, since I've been kicking the movie in the balls for a while, that Nimoy's contribution to the film must be listed as one of its main successes. And I'm not talking about having something for old school fans. Unlike Nero, he has this sense of pathos. His expression as he watches Vulcan implode seconds. His tone as he talks of his failure. It makes clear just how much agony this man is experiencing. How much guilt there is over this. Even if you never knew about Star Trek before this film, Spock's presence is meaningful and effective. The film's only real story is that of Spock, past, present, and future, and Nimoy portrays the character in just such a way to show the person we've always known, and yet fits into this arc that we see drawn for this film. Anyway, so Spock had a confrontation with Nero, knew the guy was dangerous and unstable. So upon seeing him after he came out of the black hole, he got captured. And, well, what's the alternative? Well, how about blowing up his ship? He's got matter, antimatter in his reactor after all, to keep that red matter out of Nero's hands. Instead, by getting captured, the ship can be taken intact, and now Nero can begin his course of genocide. Not one of your finest moments, Spock. Luckily, the starbase isn't too far from their cave, so they walk over and are greeted by this. What's with the tiny mechanic? What, are you going to freeze Han Solo in carbonite? I would be remiss if I didn't introduce Simon Pegg, who, oddly enough, needs no introduction. I'd put up his odd-numbered Trek quote, but I lost my space DVDs in the move. Sorry. He's stuck on this remote outpost on the moon of Vulcan because of a transporter issue.
He seemed to think that the range of transporting something like a grapefruit was limited to about 100 miles.
Oh, Scotty. The distance is in miles, and the metric system can go to hell. And I do love when they try to talk tech in this movie, because it's so awful. 100 miles is about half the orbit of the International Space Station, and at that distance, Scotty says you couldn't beam up one of T'Pol's boobs, never mind her whole body. Well, that didn't seem to stop them having a problem in the 22nd century. If I'd realized that, between this and Riker's shooting on Sunday, I'd probably have turned this into bad math week.
So, I tested it on Admiral Archer's prize beagle.
Some ideas just never sound good once you're sober, do they? And of course it couldn't be Porthos after all these years. Unless Porthos was stuffed once he died and Archer just sits around petting it all day and insisting that others do the same and offer it treats. But that's clearly only the actions of a crazy man, so it doesn't sound like Archer at all, does it? But Scotty's theory is right, and Spock provides the real equation for how to do beaming like this to get them onto the Enterprise, so that Kirk can take command, and so Scotty's going. I suppose Spock doesn't want to pollute the timeline any further than giving away future technology, getting his best friend's dad killed, and imploding the planet Vulcan. So he's going to stay behind, Got to avoid crossing the streams, It could lead to total protonic reversal. Of course, this leads to the water pipe scene, and... Okay, I know I'm really, really going against popular opinion now. Even the people who like this movie hate this part, but... I actually like the crazy Willy Wonka shit of engineering more than the old warp cores from the shows. There, I've said it. I've always thought that the reactor should be pants-fillingly scary to even be in the same room with. And while Mr. Toad's wild ride here is a bit much, I want a huge mess of an engine room. I want people to treat the phrase, check out the warp core, like they were just told, stop that saw blade with your tongue. But for now, Kirk must save Scotty, and this will require a feat of great bravery, resourcefulness, and agility. Or just typing open on this release valve control. Yes, our hero, ladies and gentlemen, saving the day thanks to his knowledge about how to make a control do exactly what it was made to do.
Captain Spock, detecting unauthorized access to water turbine control board.
I suspect it was Moose and Squirrel. Kirk and Scotty are captured and brought to the bridge, but it's all part of Spock Prime's plan. Jim, the only way to get control of the ship from my other self is Regulation 619, showing that I am emotionally compromised. But it will be very difficult. I am a rock. I am unflappable. In order to get through, you must have overwhelming douchebaggery in your arsenal. You must convey a sense of smug self-assurance combined with a totally vacuous outlook on the basic humanity of others. You need to be the living embodiment of dickish behavior. Asshole personified. Can you do this? I'm sorry, what were you saying? I was thinking about how much you stink of spoiled milk and old person. Get on the transporter pad, you little shit. Hey, don't... Now! Before I put you in that escape pod and fire you back at the Enterprise, you little punk! So naturally, Kirk manages to follow Spock's plan.
Heartbreak, or the need to stop at nothing to avenge the death of the woman who gave birth to you.
Back away from
You
me.
feel nothing! It must not even compute for you. You never loved her.
Wow. I guess Spock Prime knew exactly who to find to drive his younger self into a psychotic rage. Just say the most absolutely god-awful things possible about a family member who died the same frickin' day. Kirk, bravo. You have being a dickhead down to an art form. Hey, you know how you brought up my dead dad? How do you like it, huh? How do you like it? Dead mom, huh? Dead mom, huh? Does that bother you? Does it bother you? Dead mom's not touching you, huh? Oh, what was that Dr. Seuss book he wrote about your mom? Oh, yeah, one bitch, two bitch, dead bitch, blue bitch. Wasn't that it? Hey, Spock, you know what? Your mama's so dead, the only thing that's going down on her now are the worms!
Spock!
You haven't kneed him in the groin yet. You can't choke him to death now. What are you thinking, boy? And I'm a bit surprised, because Kirk had mentioned that he knew Archer before. I didn't know it was because he was in Archer's self-defense class, because he apparently picked up all the moves on how to lose a fight. Today's lesson will be how to curl into a ball while still protecting your kidneys. Well, Spock realizes that he, Kirk probably deserves this. I mean, this is a man who could probably asshole for his country, but nevertheless, he is emotionally compromised, is going to relinquish his command. Meaning that, yes...
I sure hope you know what you're doing, Captain.
Ladies and gentlemen, first order of business is that today is No Pants Day.